Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, Dolly, how's it going? I think my partner's just connecting too. Um, First of all, obviously, thank you to all of our viewers joining us on multiple platforms. And you know what? Today's the first time for the new year that we'll be streaming on YouTube, and also along with our OPPA partners streaming on their platforms also, and viewers from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So thank you to everyone. I see people are just hopping on. So thank you. We'll give everyone a few minutes to certainly take time to join in, and on this beautiful January 3rd, 2023. Another year is upon us. Certainly, there's a lot of info that we want to share with you about the recruitment process, but we want to wish you all the very best for 2023. There's my partner, ready to go. Looks like a bit of a lag on the link there, but I think she's ready to go. Hey, Dolly.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, good. I was just starting off with the Happy New Year, welcoming everyone joining the platforms. Everyone's saying their Happy New Year's. Definitely Happy New Year's right back at you, and all the very best to you and your family and all your endeavors that you're hoping for. And hopefully, 2023 will be a year for many of you that have been following us, obviously, um, through the process. Certainly, maybe this is the year that you will join us. And yeah, I'll turn it over to Dolly here to share her thoughts.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Constable Dolly Mangat. Happy to be here for another session. Happy New Year to all of you. I see all the messages. Thank you so much. Hope you all had a great Christmas, great holidays. And yeah, we're looking forward to providing a lot of information today. And as Prash mentioned, if you've been thinking about applying, this is the year to apply. So make sure you get on that application and submit it as soon as possible.
I feel like I have to maybe say something in Tamil too, to say, put on the Valtikal to all and everyone out there. So maybe Dolly, you can do the same in,
I
in,
will
in the
echo
five
that in
languages that you speak.
I'll pick Punjabi for the day. So ਮੇਰੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਵੇਂ ਸਾਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਬਹੁਤ-ਬਹੁਤ ਮੁਬਾਰਕਾਂ. And we'll stick to just Punjabi for today.
Just Punjabi for today.
Just Punjabi for
Awesome.
today.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for joining, and we're going to be getting to your questions. Certainly, type your questions in, and we'll be addressing them. But before I go on to that, I want to address and speak to something. Obviously, you probably all heard or know of the tragic loss of one of our fellow officers just shortly before the new year. And Greg is somebody that Dolly and I had the chance to know through the recruitment process, through the hiring process. He was an officer that we reviewed the file for, and the fitness and many other stages as he was hired through. And he's from the Highway Safety Division. He was out of Queens Park. Where he was a special constable, and obviously, we were very fortunate to have him join our uniform side. Certainly, the tragic loss and in the manner in which he was taken away from us has a profound impact, not only on us as recruiters and our entire unit, but also the organization. So, I just feel um, a great sense of loss, as an OPP family, as a policing family. But I feel even more so for his immediate family, his parents, his siblings, and obviously thinking about his fellow colleagues at Haldeman Detachment. Certainly, we will be there tomorrow to show our respect for his family and everybody that had known Greg and spent time with him. I think it was a wonderful, wonderful human being, and it's such a unfortunate and tragic loss. And I just want to take the time to just acknowledge that we'll be there tomorrow, and certainly the public have shared unbelievable comments and support throughout this time, and we appreciate that. And certainly, you'll have a chance to view his funeral procession and the funeral itself through our social media platforms. But we just want to thank you for your thoughts and prayers to him and his um, family. May he rest in peace. Dolly, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, thank you, Prash. And I echo everything that you just said. It's comforting for us as an organization, as officers within the organization, to know that, citizens across the province are thinking of the OPP and the Prashella family as we all mourn his loss. So thank you so much for your compassion.
Yeah, so in saying that again, uh, we're looking forward to a wonderful 2023. We have 3 classes coming up. Uh, Obviously, the January class just started. Actually, it will be starting tomorrow and the day after. So it will be starting, and then certainly our May and our September intake is what we're working towards. So we're looking to have a wonderful intake with maximum class numbers, and hopefully you'll be there to take part in it. As I said before, please share your questions with us. We'll be happy to address them, and we're just going to go over some of the changes that we have coming up or we're looking ahead to. Certainly go over what we're seeing for the application, some of the things that you can improve on, and any other questions. It doesn't even have to be related to hiring, but anything that you have thought about in terms of what it's like to be a police officer, what it takes to be a police officer, what sort of experiences or even opportunities that you'll have when you start off with the OPP, we'll be more than happy to share. And this year actually is a big milestone year for myself. I'm going into my 10th year as an officer with the OPP. What does that make you, Dolly? 8, 7,
8 years for me. No,
8 years
8 years
for
for
you?
me. 8 years
Yeah.
for
So
me. Yeah.
so
You remember
yeah.
coaching me 8 years ago?
So I'm not sure if many of you know. Actually, I was the coach officer for Dolly. So when she like every brand new recruit when they join the organization, when they show up to a detachment, they're paired with the coach officer for a year during the probation year. So when Dolly, I think, joined back in 2015, yeah, I was the one when my staff sergeant came to me and told me, "Hey, Prash, I think we're ready. I think you're ready to be a coach officer." And I was like, "Oh, I don't think I'm ready to coach another officer," but they felt that I had the qualities in terms of what they were looking for, and that would really help an officer. And I was very nervous. Honestly, I have to say, I was quite nervous. I didn't know who I was going to get. And you're trying to do. I was thinking about it a lot, right? Like, one, do I have the quality to coach somebody else because you're responsible for their learning and growth, and answering all their questions that where you yourself don't have all the answers to. You're learning also. So I was nervous, and then I think the first day came about. I met Dolly in the constable's office. I'm like, "Hey, Dolly, I'm your coach," and I honestly I don't recall anything after that because it was a great year. We had a lot of fun. We were faced with a lot of challenges as a recruit and coach, but I think it was a very persevering year for both of us. New in the sense of obviously Dolly
Absolutely.
being a new officer and then me being a coach. What was it like for you, Dolly?
Trust me, I was equally nervous. So for everyone out there or anyone out there that's looking to, especially if this is a second career. So for me, I came from a completely different background. Never thought about becoming a police officer growing up. So, I have a business background and I worked out in the corporate and recruiting prior to policing. So for me coming in, I still remember that first day that I met Prash. Like I had a lot of, things that I was going through. I had a lot of questions about policing in general, the career. Obviously, I'd done my research too, but still, just in terms of the relationship that I was going to have with my coach off. Essentially, Prash was responsible to sign off on my probation. So saying that, what, yeah, she's an officer and she's solid and she's good to go. She's put in the time and the effort. So definitely
Yeah,
very nervous, but I mean, we did well. We worked very well
yeah,
together, and
it
we
was
worked
great.
together.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you know what, Dolly was a great recruit that I went back to the staff and said, you know what, I think I'm ready for a second one. This was great. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed coaching Dolly, and now we have the opportunity to work as colleagues in the same unit, and obviously to provide information to recruiting the future of the organization. So it's been an amazing ride. So yeah, you know what, we'll just jump onto a few questions as we touch upon a few of the things here. I think the first question from Crystal there. I have an interest in law enforcement, but I won't pass the vision or hearing requirements. Would it benefit me in any way if I apply as a civilian employee for the position and mention that I've either applied to a constable or that I have an interest? So, question for you: why do you think this is what I'm probably thinking, even when reading your question, Crystal? Why do you think that you won't pass the vision or hearing test? Because I think many people may think they might not, but they actually might. I think if you actually go to our frequently asked questions page on our OPP Careers website, we actually have the vision and hearing standards that you will see is required. What I always suggest is, instead of self-diagnosing, or if you actually haven't had a chance to do that, please go and see your optometrist or your audiologist to get yourself tested on your vision and hearing standards that we require to be a police officer, and they will be able to tell you, yes, you meet these standards, or no, you don't. And if you don't meet the standards, they'll also give you options that you can, you know, make or do to meet the standard. So before you count the uniform side out, I would say please take a chance to do that. There might be a small cost associated with getting yourself tested, but I think certainly it'll give you a lot more options and maybe give you a bit of clarity about that. So please get a chance to do that. I'm not sure if I missed anything on that, Dolly.
No, good. Just one thing, Ashley, and for Crystal, just to add to that. So for me as well, like Rash mentioned, so I had looked into vision standards, and I knew, what I had to do. Like I had to get LASIK done prior to applying, or not prior to even going through the process and testing, just because I knew that I didn't meet the standards. So again, like you mentioned, just look into it, and make sure that you're aware of our vision and hearing standards, and definitely consult a professional to ensure that especially if this is a career that you want to do,
Yeah.
want to pursue. So definitely do your research on that.
Another question in terms of projection for the next class in terms of numbers. So every single class, we try to max out our number. We want to make sure that we're optimizing the amount of people that we can hire for the needs of the organization. As you can imagine, many people retire every year, and we're all also projecting that, but also for other need requirement, we need officers. So I say shy of 140 a class. That's what we try to usually meet. So that's exactly what we're going to be trying to meet for the next upcoming class in May, and also for the September class. And again, that's excluding the experienced police officer program that we have also. So I know sometimes we have people that join us that are current officers that are looking to come to the OPP through the experienced police officer program. Certainly that's available too. But if you're looking to come as a new recruit, certainly that is what we're looking for.
Awesome. And a question from Eugene. Do you have to be a citizen to join? So a Canadian citizen or permanent resident? Eugene, that's a great question. So for permanent residency as well, as long as you don't necessarily have to wait for that PR card to come through, if you've applied, you have proof that you've gotten your permanent residency status, you can submit that with your application. So not just citizen, but permanent resident as well.
And you know what great way then questions that give us a chance to segue into minimum requirements here. So I'm gonna talk about that. Apart from being a permanent resident, these are the minimum requirements that you need to have to submit your application to the OPP. So you have to be minimum 18 years of age or older. And as Dolly mentioned, you have to be a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen. Those are two things that you have to meet. You have to be either one or the other on that. You have to have your Ontario Secondary School Diploma, which means a high school diploma. And you can have your high school diploma from another country. And that's not a problem as long as you have it evaluated for Ontario standards. And you can learn how to do that by going on to the OPP website, opp.ca/careers. And then certainly that will let you know how you can obtain the Ontario standards if you have your high school obtained in another country. You have to have a G license with no more than 6 demerit points. I know people sometimes ask us, can I have a G2? No, you have to have a G license. You have to have a full driver's license without any driving restrictions. And again, as long as you have no more than 6 demerit points, you can submit your application. You have to have no criminal record, unless you've received a pardon for the criminal record. Certainly you can apply it, but certainly you can have an active criminal record. You have to be able to speak, read, and write English fluently. If you speak another language, that's great, but certainly speaking, reading, writing English is a requirement. You have to have a standard first aid and level C CPR. You don't need to have this while you are submitting your application, but you certainly need to get that certification before you are given the job offer. And also, certainly, when you go through the hiring process with us, you have to be able to pass the medical, psychological security, and financial assessments, and a detailed character investigation, which we'll talk about later on. You have to be able to physically be able to pass the fitness testing process, and especially when you're going through the hiring process, it's a level 7 on the shuttle run. The Leger shuttle run is what you need to pass. So these are the minimum requirements that you need to meet. Again, if you go on opp.ca/careers, we have it listed all there for you, so you know exactly what they are. Okay, go ahead, Dolly.
Awesome. And for the fitness test, so what Prash just mentioned for the shuttle, we actually have a question. For the physical test, do you guys only accept 20-meter shuttle run? I live in Alberta. We have pairs, so can I submit that instead? So unfortunately for us, you cannot, we don't accept anything but that shuttle.
Mhm.
When you are in the process, as soon as you submit the application to us, you actually get detailed instructions and an instructional video of how to complete a shuttle. It is on your own time. It's virtual. You'll do the 20-meter shuttle run and submit it so we can see it. So even if you've done the shuttle elsewhere, we still need you to follow our instructions, do it, and submit it to us virtually. Okay,
Yeah,
hope that
good
answers
point.
that one.
Natasha's asking essentially, I've considered joining the Canadian Army. Having said that, it's in the early stages. In your experience of joining the OPP, what is an ideal candidate? So I think maybe there's two questions there. I assume that you're talking about how you want to maybe join the Canadian Army first, maybe get that experience first, and then eventually apply to us because you feel maybe joining the Canadian Army will give you the experience that will make you more competitive to eventually join the OPP. So I'll answer that based on my experience as a recruiter. Certainly, we both Dolly and I we interview many candidates that are currently in the organization with the Canadian Armed Forces, and certainly we hire many officers from that streamline. But if you want to pursue that because that's your passion, you want to do that first and then come to us, by all means, that's great. I encourage you to do that, but don't feel like that's what you need to do to be a competitive candidate with us. I think certainly you can apply without having that background, and you might still get hired with us. The only way to find out how you'll do is to certainly just submit the application or just speak to one of us. Just call us and speak to one of us about what you currently have in terms of your experience or what you do, and that'll kind of give us a chance to kind of go through your overall application and where you stand, and we'll be able to give you based on what you tell us or what we see whether you're ideal candidate. You know what I mean? So, and the other question about what's an ideal candidate, we'll talk about it as we're going through the process today. Anything to add on that, Dolly?
Absolutely. No, that's great. Actually, just for the ideal candidate part, we actually have a great question, and we get this quite a bit. What suggestion do you have for me? I didn't pass the interview stage, keeping myself prepared. Any suggestions to be more successful? So essentially, again, that's in line with that last question. So, one thing that we always encourage candidates is, if you're not successful in your interview, obviously do not give up, and don't sit on that application, and ensure that you're showing growth and overall competitiveness, the next time around when that 1 year comes up. So things that, again, self-reflect, see where you went wrong, where you feel that you could have improved on. Maybe overall you just weren't competitive at this time. That doesn't mean you're not going to be a good police officer. So definitely don't give up. 2023 is the year, so keep at it, keep improving, work towards improving your overall competitiveness, and just make sure that you resubmit that application to us.
Yeah. No, you know what? When you said 2023 is the year, you know what I thought about right off the bat? Michael Jordan's jersey number 23. Just like Jordan, just power through. You know what I mean?
Don't give
Obviously, I'm
up.
I'm a huge basketball fanatic, so I had to somehow relate it back to basketball. So I just saw a question here I want to address. Nishant was asking, reference letters from college professors required for application. So yeah, educational references or educational background, but again, it doesn't have to be specifically through your people that taught you, teachers or professors. I understand sometimes, time goes by, you lose touch, you're not able to get a hold of them, or they're not able to provide that for you. You can also get reference letters that are in relation to education through people that are in positions of, or hold positions that are more of a teaching type of scenario or training type of scenario. So, maybe where the place that you currently work at, there are people that train you on your annual training or course refreshers. Those are people that you can reach out to talk about your learning habits or education habits. People that can speak to those things that you're doing, they can give you those references too. So if you know teachers and professors, that's great. But if you don't and you have kind of lost touch with them, there are people that currently you probably deal with that are in those positions of teaching and qualifying that can speak to that. So hopefully that will help you. Um,
Awesome. And we actually, Prash, we have a lot of questions about our areas of assessment. Do we just want to go
Really?
over?
That's the problem.
Uh,
I'm already stuck. I'm still stuck back on the questions back there. So one, I can't pass this question up. I got to talk about this. Anytime I have a chance to rep the HSD. So question from Johnny: Can you
oh,
talk?
okay.
Can you talk more about the HSD and what it's like to be an HSD officer? Duties, responsibility. Okay, where do I start? Where do I start?
Make sure you keep
So,
it within 2 minutes, okay? We're not, we can't talk about HSD for the next 40 minutes.
so maybe probably most of you don't know, like Dolly and I, we were HSD officers. So when Dolly started in her policing career, she started off the Toronto HSD detachment, one of the busiest detachments when it comes to call volume and things that you get exposed to. So that's where she started, and that's where I was also in my second year as an HSD officer. One of the things I like about HSD, especially when you talk about GTA, I'll specifically talk about Toronto. Again, we have many other HSD detachments across the province, but just stick to the HSD Toronto for now. I loved working in Toronto, one, because it was busy. There's a lot of stuff to do. It's a city environment, so you're dealing with a lot of members, a lot of situations that maybe you might not get exposed to in other areas. 401 is one of the busiest highways in North America. So you can imagine everything that's happening on there, from collisions to calls. There's also a lot of situations that you're thrown into that you have to really think quickly on your feet to address, because public safety is paramount. And also, if you can imagine, we've all been in the situation where one lane of highway gets blocked, and now that's backing up traffic all through the city. And we're getting calls from left, right, and center. Hey, what's going on with the highway? Why is it jammed? So when you're there, there's a lot of pressure on you to make sure you're doing your job safely, but you're keeping the city moving. And maybe I'll turn it over to Dolly when she started off as a brand new officer, coming thrown right onto the highway there, starting off.
Yeah, and you know what? I absolutely, again, I have, my heart lies within HSD. I actually did go to Caledon for about a year, and I wanted to be more of a well-rounded officer, so I went to general duties as well. But again, my heart's with HSD. Like, I absolutely loved my time in Toronto. Loved, it's very self-driven, a lot of the initiatives that you're doing, like our seatbelt enforcements, our HOV enforcement. So there's a lot you can make out of your one shift when you are working that to 12 hour shift. So that's one of the things that I loved was, you go out, you make what you're really, you're the creator of your particular shift. So you are responding to collisions, you are responding to calls, but along those same lines, you are also initiating a lot of enforcement initiatives that you want to. So you'll pair up with other officers and you'll get a chance to do that.
Yeah,
The other thing I think I genuinely really liked, Prash, was just being able to use my language
yeah,
skills. So me, being a female officer, being a Punjabi female officer, so speaking Punjabi and Hindi and understanding Urdu, a lot of times during collisions, like with various, commuting public, just being able to translate things, help them when they are involved in situations along our highway. So that's definitely, I genuinely, my 2.5, 3 years that I spent in Toronto, like I did take full advantage of my language skills and really got a chance to use those as an officer. So loved it.
and you know what? I think you're missing the big point about the food that's available in the GTA.
You can't
you
go.
can't
You can't forget the
Yeah,
food.
so there's the amount of different options when it comes to food. I had to throw it out there because if you're a foodie like Dolly and I am, I think we had a lot of stops during our coaching year that I was doing. We did a lot of food experimentation too, but it's just a great learning environment. I think the team in Toronto is a very good team. It's a very young team. It's type of a go-getter team. So you're always doing things and learning things from other officers, and we're always enforcing the big four, to reduce impaired driving, to reduce speeding, ensure that we stop aggressive driving, and to make sure that people are actually wearing their seatbelts, which save lives. So that's our motto in HSD. But certainly if you have the mindset to go out there and come up with different initiatives that you want to do, I think certainly you're allowed to do it, because again, at the end of the day, your job as an officer is to think outside the box, to protect and preserve public safety. So I think certainly if you can think of it, you'll get the opportunity to do it. And if you haven't thought about HSD as an option when you're applying, certainly do so. I think certainly there's a lot that you learn from it. Um, Go ahead, Dolly.
Absolutely. No, and I couldn't agree more. Like it's fast paced, your day goes by and you'll love it. Like there's not a single day that, when I worked in Toronto and HSD that I didn't enjoy what I did. I genuinely enjoyed
That was
working
fun.
as a police officer in Toronto Detachment.
And
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
both still do road shifts. Even though we're recruiters, we've kind of spoke to our staff sergeant to kind of let us do road shifts in HSC. So as HSC regional officers and recruiters, we still get out there. We're still on the road. Because it's a great way for us to still keep ourselves up to date. Because policing is an ever changing career. It's always changing every single day, and this kind of keeps us in touch with what's going on and keeps us in tune. So who knows? Maybe the next time you get pulled over, it will be us. Hopefully not.
Hopefully
Hopefully
not.
not.
Maybe the next time you get interviewed, hopefully the next interview is us.
Yeah, hopefully the next interview.
Actually,
That's more of a positive spin. So let's keep it with that one.
that's more of a positive spin.
Yeah, that's
Actually, you know
more of a
what? And on
positive
that
spin.
note, like there's on that note, there's a question about detachment preferences. So Douglas is actually asking, when picking your preferred detachment for your first duration, can a candidate pick anywhere in Ontario to show how available they are, or does it really matter? So great question, Douglas. It absolutely matters. Like the one thing that we can't emphasize enough is definitely do your research. You do get to select 6 detachment preferences when applying to the organization. And we want to hear, like as recruiters, we want to hear why you pick those 6 detachments, right? How it impacts your decisions, how they impact your personal life, how they impact your lifestyle. Financially, is that going to, does that essentially mean you're going to be relocating, selling your house, that sort of thing when it comes to assets? So definitely do your research. The one thing that I always encourage everybody, drive to those detachments, talk to officers within those areas, talk to your family, make sure it works for your lifestyle, make sure it works for your family's lifestyle. If you've got a partner, you've got kids, so definitely do your research. Don't just put a detachment out there just because you think we want officers in that particular area at this particular time, because you are going to be bound to that detachment for the first couple of years until you are a first class constable. So make sure you definitely do your research, because you cannot transfer to a different detachment until and unless you get to that first class
Yeah. So
constable rank.
no, good. Yeah, and it'll be 3 years. The first 3 years, when you're posted at your initial hiring, you'll be there for the 3 year period. So just make sure that you've done your research to pick the detachment that will satisfy you. Maybe it speaks to your family's needs or your personal needs, so that way you're happy and you know what you're getting. Okay. Question from Curtis here. I want to address. So currently reside in Nova Scotia. Beautiful place. I've been there once. I loved it. Beautiful part of the province there in Nova Scotia. And he wants to know, if he were to go through the process with us, does he physically have to come here for any sort of testing? And the great thing about the OPP, Curtis, you actually don't need to come physically for any sort of testing in our hiring process. We will do everything from start to finish. We have the capability. Again, it's because of COVID, we've had to adapt a lot of things that we've done in our process, and we're able to do many of the whole start to finish virtually. So the only time you actually have to physically report is when you are given the job offer and you're starting your training. That's when you physically got to show up at the academy and for OPC. But other than that, from start to finish, even our interviews are done virtually now. Again, it's been a great concept that we've adopted, and I think it's worked great because we are able to really interview people and do many things. And a few weeks ago, I actually interviewed a gentleman from Thailand. They were actually there for work, and they are going through the process with us right now. And I was able to interview them, and they are successful. They're moving on to the next stage. But it was a great experience, and for them, they did not have to drop everything, fly back, because as you can imagine, cost and all those things, and we're able to save all that. So it's absolutely, you can do that and potentially get hired with us.
Awesome. We got a few questions about education.
Go ahead, Dolly.
So
We're
I'll
trying
just
to
go through
switch
this.
things.
Yeah, I'll just go through this one. So Joseph's asking, does a police foundation's diploma increase the likeliness of being accepted? Would it be preferred over a different line of education? Joseph, so essentially, again, our minimum requirements at this point still are high school diploma. Potentially some of the services, if you've attended some information sessions, there are changing towards post-secondary education or equivalent, but with us, it is still high school diploma. Does police foundations increase the likeliness of being accepted? I wouldn't say that's the case in terms of being accepted. It's just overall competitiveness. So again, when I talked about myself, like I have a business background, I have a business degree, and I'm a police officer. So it's essentially your overall competitiveness, your education. Our minimum is high school diploma. It's what you bring above and beyond. And we'll talk about that when we talk about our areas of assessment. The one thing that I encourage everybody to do is if you haven't attended an information session, attend a thorough, complete. Today, we're obviously going to answer questions, but sign up and attend one of our detailed information sessions where we really do go over in depth about, what we look for in a competitive candidate.
Well said, Dolly. Just trying to scroll through here, just making sure I didn't miss any. Thank you for
Oh,
your thoughts there, Laura. Certainly, we talking about the officer's tragic death there. Yes, our members do have supports available to them through many variations, even through our OPPA partner, and even through the OPP partnerships through um, uh, our healthy workforce team. So we have many outlets that where you can reach out and speak to get help if you have things on your mind. As somebody that's not part of the organization at this point, we don't have anything available where you're able to reach out and get those supports to us. But certainly in the public realm, there are supports that are offered through various mediation organizations. So I would suggest that you can certainly reach out to them to get that support that you certainly need. Um, Moving right along here. Um, but if you certainly, before I even wrap that up, even if you go to opp.ca/HWT, Healthy Workplace Team, you'll see the type of supports that we offer. Again, it's opp.ca/HWT, Healthy Workplace Team. You'll see what supports we offer and what sort of help that we provide for our fellow members, and certainly anything that you're inquiring about. Okay. Just
awesome.
trying to.
Thank you. There's a question about OACP. Tara's asking, does the OPP require the OACP? So, Tara, great question again. For us, you do not need the OACP certificate. However, if you have it, please submit it with your application package. It does show, obviously, that you have, you're capable of passing the vision medical as well as the Sigma testing. So if you've obtained it because you're applying to other municipal services, definitely submit it. But for the OPP, you don't need it.
Yeah. Uh, Question, Vember, if you're an active Army Reserve, will you be allowed to join the OPP? Absolutely. So we actually have many officers that are still in the Army. They're reservists with the Army, and they actually hold multiple positions, other positions within the Army. So you can still have secondary employment with the military if you choose to do so. You don't have to give it up. You can be an officer and certainly do that too. So absolutely, it's available to you. Okay. Um, Trying to scroll up here. What's the minimum age? 18 years of age or older. That's the minimum. There is no age cutoff. Certainly go to opp.ca if you're looking /careers if you're looking to what the minimum requirements are to apply to the OPP. Okay. Scrolling up here.
Is it
Wow, thanks for the
mandatory?
question.
Oh,
Sorry, go on, Dolly.
there's one for volunteer work. Is it mandatory to have volunteer experience? This individual has two jobs. They're gymming, diet, and all that. So there's no mandatory per se for volunteer. We ask that, this again, you are signing up to work with the vulnerable, with the marginalized community. So we do ask that you do commit your time, you do contribute to the society, your community in one way or another. And again, everybody's life is different. Everyone's situation is different. So as long as you're doing that in one way or another, that's completely fine. We don't have any sort of minimum that you have to be volunteering a certain amount of hours during a week or a month with one particular organization. So you choose how you want to contribute to your community and you do it your way.
Yeah, and you know what? Just to add to that, again, sometimes when you think about volunteering, most people think about working for an organization or a particular volunteering organization, and that's not the case that we're looking for. Volunteering could be in any facet or in any form. What we're looking for is where you've given your time to help others. It could be in your personal life, it could be through an organization, but as long as you can articulate how you've shown the ability to give your time to help others that benefit others, that's what we're looking for when it comes to volunteering. Again, in this day and
Absolutely.
age, we're all busy with commitments and work and all that time that we just don't have. But certainly, if you want to be a police officer, we look for it because we want to see that you're doing something to give some time back to the community. So certainly think outside the box, and most of you probably do it already. It's just a matter of articulating how you do it in terms of giving back. That's what we're looking for. Um,
Awesome. Oh, this
okay.
is a good question. Oh,
Okay, go on, Dolly.
this is a good question, O'Shane. Is it possible to speak to a recruiter directly? Absolutely. Come see us at one of our in-person information sessions. If you're within the HSD, Prash and I host information sessions regularly within the GTA.
Yeah.
And soon we're going to be going outside of GTA as well. So definitely come out, see us at one of our in-person events. Keep an eye out on opp.ca/careers. Sign up for an event and come out and see us, and you can definitely speak to us in person.
Yeah, just prior to the new year, we were in Brampton City Hall. It was a great event, had a good turnout. So we try to spread it around across the GTA, and certainly we love doing that because it gets us a chance to be out there to meet our applicants and have that one-on-one interaction. And yeah, if you can make it, we try to change up the times. We have it in the afternoons, we have it in the evenings. We don't have it in the mornings. Dolly and I are not morning people, so we don't we don't have it in the mornings. But certainly, if you can make it out, please do. If you can't make it out, don't worry. There'll be another session that we always try to do every single month, 2 to 3. Join us for it. And we also have fitness sessions that we do. We hold practice prep sessions and shuttle run sessions once a month, where you can actually come and it's free of charge. You don't have to pay anything, but it gives you a chance to run through the testing that you'll be looking at passing when you go to OPC. So it's a great way for you to meet fellow applicants, but it's a great way for you to meet us because we might be the ones interviewing you down the line. It's a great way to kind of connect that way too. So if you have the chance to do it, please do come join us for that too. And we usually share the dates and times of that on our social media platforms.
Absolutely. And there are 2 questions about that one, when our next prep test date is. So just keep an eye out on our website. Again, the same website, opp.ca/careers. You'll get all our information. Keep an eye on our social media platforms when the next, the registration is typically open for about a week. There are a limited amount of spots, so just make sure that you sign up for one.
Chris wants to know, what can an applicant be studying in the meantime to better prepare? He wants to know whether he wants to study the Highway Traffic Act, the Criminal Code of Canada. So he's actually ready. He's really preparing himself. Hey, if that's your reading material that you want to do, by all means go ahead. But I don't think you need to do that, because when you show up to OPC, that's what the curriculum will cover when you're there. So keep that Criminal Code of Canada and the Highway Traffic Act aside for now. But hey, if that's something you want to do, absolutely.
Maybe that's their bedtime routine. Read up
Maybe,
the
yeah.
Highway Traffic Act. Hey,
Who am I? Who am I to say you can't read Highway Traffic Act and the Criminal Code of Canada? No, absolutely. If you want to do that, absolutely. But know that you're going to be taught that when you go there. You're going to have a chance to review it and study, and the professors there are very, very good at making sure that you understand the material that you need to know. But yeah, absolutely. Moving right along here.
We have Div is asking, what's the next stage after the PBQ? So Div, our PBQ, our pre-background questionnaire and our interview, that's currently happening virtually. It's combined into one. That's essentially one meeting where you will meet with a recruiter, where we do review your pre-background questionnaire along with your local focus interview. And after that, if you are successful, essentially that's when you move on to the background investigation stage. And that is one of our biggest stages in our hiring process. So that's essentially where an investigator is assigned to your file. You're going through psychological testing or Sigma testing. You'll be going through medical vision testing. So there's a lot that's happening right after the interview stage.
And Dolly, how I love segues. You know what I mean? So it's a perfect time to talk about the application process here. So this is how the hiring process works for the OPP. Again, other services might do it differently, but for us, this is how it works. For us, you'll go on opp.ca/careers. You'll fill out the application online. There'll be 2 applications. One is a recruit application, and the other is the experienced police officer application. If you're a recruit, certainly only fill out the recruit application. It's a fillable document, so you can certainly fill it out online. Take your time with it. Do not rush through it. There's a lot of information that we ask for, and there's a mandatory checklist on the application itself that we want you to go through and check off what's applicable to you, and make sure, if it is applicable to you, that you're attaching the supporting documents in it. Once your application is done, you'll email it to us at opphire@opp.ca. And then once we review your application, we go through the entire application, make sure everything is attached and everything that's needed and required is there for us to review. And once it's processed and you're assigned your file number, we will send you a file number now that identifies you in our process. The first thing that we ask from you is your fitness shuttle run. That is the first thing that we will require of you, which means you do a self-test. You'll record yourself. We will send you all the instructions about how to do the shuttle run. You'll record yourself, and we're looking for a level 7 on your shuttle run that you need to meet. Once you do meet that, you're successful. You'll be moving on to the pre-background questionnaire interview and the local focus interview. And for us, there's only one interview that we do currently, and it's done virtually. And in this interview, you'll have a recruiter like myself or Dolly. My interviews are about 3 hours long, and you're probably asking,
If
what are
they
we
if
talking?
they if they talk basketball, they end up being 5 hours long. So be
They end
ready.
up being 5 hours. That's right. Especially if you talk about Michael Jordan, definitely it's going to be 5 hours.
Well, oh yeah.
But it's a one-on-one interview, and again, it's a virtual interview. And this is where we assess you in terms of everything that you want to share with us about why you want to pursue this career, your knowledge, your expertise, your experience, everything that you can think about. We're going to be talking about to you in this interview, and then this is how we assess you if you're the right candidate for our organization. And if you are successful, certainly your file will move on to the next stage of the hiring process, which is a background investigation and the psychological assessment process. And after that, then your file moves on to the final review stage and the detachment posting selection. And if everything goes well, certainly then you'll get a call from us, and that's the call that you're all looking for. And we actually received ourselves, back in the day. So certainly it's a process that's very streamlined. I think it's very efficient. It's streamlined. There's not a lot of lag or wait where you're waiting to hear back. It's very, very continuous and constant. And we don't like to put timelines on certainly the process itself, but it's anywhere from less than 6 months or much, much earlier than that, I would say, depending on what we've seen recently in terms of how fast people are going through the process. So that's our process from start to finish. And again, like I said, the next class that we're hiring for is for April, which is coming up, and certainly the one beyond that is September. Okay.
Awesome. And
Anything you
actually,
want
yeah, and talking about, yeah, so just, yeah, you mentioned like obviously our process is streamlined. So there's actually a question from Curtis about in terms of the entire hiring process, how long does it take? So typically, like Prash mentioned, it could be on the faster end, you'd be looking at about three months. It's typically between 3 to 6 months from the time that you submit your application to the time that you actually get that job offer. So it's very streamlined. It's very quick. You get instructions. We can walk you through the entire process once you do apply. You'll get instructions every step of the way in terms of what's coming up next.
Yeah, perfect.
Uh,
Fabio wants to know, they're 36. They were sergeant in the Air Force in Colombia. Actually, a few colleagues of us that work in Toronto, and obviously they moved on to a few other specialty units. They're Colombian. I love working with them. So you kind of brought that to my mind. Is it possible to live in Ontario? My status is person protected. I'm not sure what you were typing there, but certainly if you've had experience in the military or if it wasn't in another country, certainly it's a transferable skill. Absolutely, I think it would benefit you. We've hired many officers that have had policing experience in other country, military experience in other country, and they've been able to transition into the OPP, and they're amazing officers. I can think about a few of them in Aurora that Nadali and I know, that were in the Jamaican police force that have transitioned, and they're doing amazing things now with the OPP. So certainly, if you have the passion for it and you want to pursue it, I would highly, highly encourage you to apply.
Absolutely. And there's a question, Nishanth asked the question again about interview, what to expect in an interview, and if an interview is more personal circumstance or behavioral type or technical type question. So again, great question about the interview, Nishanth. It's about you, the entire interview. So again, Prash's interviews, if you talk basketball, they could be 5 hours. So just be prepared to sit there for 5 hours. Mine are typically about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And they're just to get to know you. So just know yourself, know your history, know your employment, know everything about yourself from past to present, and just be prepared and be ready to articulate and explain everything in the interview. In terms of, we do have competencies that are incorporated within our interview. So be ready to pull examples from your life, from personal or professional life, and be ready to articulate and explain that as well. So just really,
Well,
it's all about you.
yeah, and since you're asking, here are some of the interview questions that we'll be asking you. No, it's not gonna be that easy.
They're ready. They're ready to type
They're
those.
ready to write it down. No, and the whole point of the interview is also the part where you're meant to think on your feet, right? It's meant to be meant to put you in a way where you have to think on your feet, answer on the spot about things that you're not expecting to be asked. and that's part of it. And we had to go through it. We had to try to answer some of these questions, and we understand that you're not a police officer. We understand that there are things that you might not know, and that's fine. We're not expecting you to know every single answer to all the questions that we're asking you. But that's why it's set up in a certain way, because it's a policing interview. But enjoy the experience. I think what I would say about our interview process, and many people have kind of said this, is it's quite an enriching experience. I think you walk away really thinking of a positive experience that you had with the recruiter in terms of what the interview was like. You get to learn about yourself also as you're going through and answering these questions. When we're asking you, we make you think differently. It's meant to be personable. It's not meant to intimidate you in any way. It's more meant to be more of an enriching experience, I would say. I think that's what most people feel when they actually go through it. And certainly, if you want to find out, just put in the application. You'll definitely find out. Okay, so yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, Dolly, can you believe it's
Um,
only 10 more minutes left?
I know. I feel time's flying by. It's because you
I
talk too
know,
much.
I know. No, no, you're definitely talking too much, Dolly. Let's cut it down today.
Uh,
Okay, so 10 more minutes. So we're gonna try to address many questions. Hopefully, we will. If we don't get to you, certainly we apologize, and we'll certainly try to get to it the next session around. So, and we thank you for joining us today. An amazing, a lot of questions today.
Absolutely.
Um, Trying to scroll through one
Du-
I haven't
du- du-
seen yet.
du.
Um, okay, question about a cadet program. Marley wants to know if there's a cadet program in the OPP. Yes, we do have cadet programs in the OPP. Currently, we only have it available in the Northeast regions and Northwest regions, but I don't want to say yet, but I think there are rumors about how we might open that up to other regions. And I'm hoping 2023 is the year where we do that, because I truly believe in that program. I think it's a great program to have for our organization. I think if everything goes well, I think it will be opened up for the rest of the regions, and Highway Safety Division also. So fingers crossed, Marley. And if that does happen, you will certainly know about it, because we will be plastering it all over our platforms and our
Mhm.
website. So certainly keep an eye out for that. Mm,
Absolutely.
does the OPP require the OACP certificate to apply? No, we don't. I know there are other organizations that do, but the OPP does not require the OACP certificate. If you have it, great. You can attach that along with the application. But if you don't, you are not required to go out and get it. Okay.
Oh, this is a good one. I think we could both take this one. What was your favorite part about being a police officer? Or is there a call that really stands out to you? I
Okay.
almost delivered a baby on 400 and Finch, but that was one of those calls where I had EMS right behind me. So I remember that one.
Yes.
Where the
I did.
that was I remember that call when
Yeah.
the female was having a baby right in the front passenger seat of the vehicle. So
Yeah.
that was definitely something that stood out to me.
Um, when I think about a recruiter, something as a recruiter that stands out to me is when me and Dolly did a in-person job offer
Job
to a few of
offers.
our candidates for a class last year. It was unbelievable, just to see the reaction on the candidates' face, and they had their families there with them. I was actually crying. Like, yeah, obviously Dolly's like, "Why are you crying, Pash?" Like, I
I
was
saw
very
tears.
emotional.
I had my camera out. I was recording. I saw his tears. It was
Yeah, it
awesome.
was it was such
Yeah.
an amazing reaction from the candidates. I think it was a culmination of all the hard work that they put into going through the process, and to share that moment with their family members with them, to get the job offer in front of them. Yeah, it kind of brought me back to my own job offer experience. So that was something as a recruiter. As an officer, I think there's hundreds of memorable occasions that that come to mind. But I think something that I always enjoyed was when we had our platoon dinners. Sometimes we would work so much, and the calls would be nonstop, and then you would have a break in the call time, and we would try to all figure out what we want to eat. Sometimes we would go get food from a particular place, and then we come back to the detachment, sit down as a platoon, and have dinner. Because sometimes it's your family away from your family. You're with these people a lot. You're working 12-hour shifts. Sometimes it's like 15, 16 hours based on long days, right? And it's just an amazing camaraderie that you build, and I really enjoyed that experience. And Dolly knows exactly what I'm talking about. So that is something that kind of really stands out to me when I think
And
about
here I was. I thought your favorite part about being a police officer was coaching me for 10 months.
that. It was, but I do have other parts that are favorite too. um, a
There's,
great question from Harm. What? Did I miss it?
I think so. I'm
At
just
the
scrolling down
bottom.
here.
Okay, Harmon. Okay, if you could do it all over again, would you still choose policing or would you pick a different path? Okay, I'll go with that. Um, I honestly, I would pick policing again. I think I understand what Harmon's asking. When it comes to policing, and again, this is something that we dive into when you come to the interview stage. um, we ask, we want to know why is it that you're picking this career, with everything, all the challenges that we face as police officers, and obviously, the situation that happened to our fellow officer. It's a reality of policing. There's a danger, an element of danger, and also scrutiny, a high level of scrutiny. It's demanding. Yes, I hear what you're asking, Harmon, but I say, if I would pick it, absolutely. I think there's a lot of things that when I think about it, it brings me joy and happiness, and I feel a passion for it. I feel a sense of ability to give back in the many ways. And even right now, as a recruiter, I feel like I'm giving back in a way to the society and to the organization in terms of hiring the right people that will move our organization forward. Who knows? I could be interviewing the next commissioner of the OPP when I'm doing this in my role, and that's what I always think about when I do this. So certainly, will I pick it again? Absolutely, because every day when I show up to work and I'm putting the uniform on, I still get that same feeling that I got the first time that I wore it, and that feeling is still with me. Are there days that are challenging? Absolutely, I totally agree with you. There are, and every single officer would say the same. But I think many officers would say, they still feel that um, sense of pride in terms of wearing this uniform and coming and doing the job that they do because they still feel for it. So I would say yes, yeah, yes for me, absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. Like it's very well said, Prash. Same goes for me. Like at the end of the day, again, this is a second career for me. But if I had to do it again, I wouldn't pick anything different. It's just that sense of satisfaction at the end of each shift. And as a frontline officer working in Toronto, working in Caledon, just going home knowing that I've done the best that I could that particular day, and just being there for my community, I would do it again. Like in a heartbeat, I would do it again. And as a recruiter, now again, we get to play a small part in the future of the organization. We get to hire the future of the organization, and yeah, like we wouldn't have it any other way, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. We're always talking about the uniform side, but there's actually a question for Michelle about the civilian roles. Yes, we do hire civilian roles for the organization too. They play a huge role in our organization. They actually have many support services roles that they play behind the scenes to support our officers. So if you're looking at particularly going and applying for a frontline position as a civilian in our detachment, yes, it's available. If you want to work in specialized units in our headquarters at GHQ or even in our regional headquarters, they're available. You just have to apply for them, just like any other position. We will post it online through the Government of Ontario website, or even within detachment. You can call the hiring managers at any specific detachment and look for vacancies that they're looking to hire for. Because we also, kind of hire people from those positions also to come into the uniform side. So certainly, if you're interested in the civilian aspect of it, whether it be special constables, whether it be admin positions or support services positions, certainly we have all those available. And when I think about civilians, I think one of the biggest units that really help us do our job is our psych services that work with the uniform recruitment. They actually assess a lot of candidates that we recommend. They do the psych testing on these individuals, and they're all amazing, amazing civilian members of our unit. So I think certainly without them, even when I think about all of our coordinators, without them, there's no way we can do what we do to put our
Absolutely.
candidates through and put our classes through. And they're in the backgrounds. They're not here just like Dolly and I in the forefront. But certainly, we always want to thank them for the job they do. And even our social media coordinator who puts all this together for us, because again, without their help, this would not be possible for us to get all this information through to you. So thank you all to all of them. So yeah, so that's what it is. So look at our OPP website and our uh, Ontario website there to see the openings right now. A few more minutes before we wrap up. And again, I really want to appreciate and thank all of you for joining us on our first session today. It's obviously flying by quickly, and I apologize we're not able to get to all the questions, but we do this on a regular basis, and you'll get a chance to meet all of our recruiters in other regions. But since HST is the top-notch region, we want to go first.
You
No,
know
I'm
it.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. My colleagues are not going to be happy with that one. So,
They're going to
no,
be texting us in about 2 minutes. Hey,
no, no. Yeah,
on
go
that
ahead.
note, we actually, we can't end the session without talking about auxiliaries. So auxiliaries
Oh
very
yes,
near and dear.
yes,
Yes, it's very
yes,
near and dear to
yes.
my heart. And we just got a question actually. What are some key differences between the auxiliary application process compared to the constable process? So essentially, the minimum requirements are very similar, if not identical. The only one thing that auxiliary does not need is the fitness component. So at this point, you do not need to do the shuttle run prior to or even after applying. So essentially, if you meet the minimum requirements, which are very similar, go on the website opp.ca/auxiliary, and it's essentially what Prash had mentioned earlier. So if you're ready, you'll submit the package electronically to the email that's listed there, and your process will continue. It's a great tool for individuals that need that to help solidify if policing is for you, if the other uniform side is for you. It's a shorter course; it's 8 days. You're equipped with everything: training, meals, lodging, everything's provided, everything's covered for, and you essentially, if you're successful in the process, their process does take, and they've just recently streamlined it, but it's not as quick as the uniform side of things. So it does take about 6 months. It could take from 6 months to about 8 months for you to go through the entire process from the time that you apply to the time that you actually hear back. But it's a great stepping stool if that's something that you're looking at doing, for sure. Absolutely.
Actually, one of our colleagues from West Region just messaged saying, West Region is where it's at.
I
So,
I told you. You
but
can't be
hey,
saying
but
things
you're
about
right.
HST.
No, no, you're right. West Region's where it's at. West Region's, I would say every single region is amazing region, depending on where you go, where you want to go, and that's why we give you the chance to pick six detachments from across the province. So, in saying that, that brings us to 3 o'clock, and I know Sarah said, "Don't you dare go over a minute over three." So, Dolly, any closing
No,
thoughts?
no, this is a great first session of the year. Thank you so much for such amazing questions, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly send us some of the questions that we didn't get to. If not, certainly save them for our next team that will be taking the AMA, and we hope to see you in our process, and we hope we get a chance to interview you and certainly meet you in person if the opportunity presents itself. Other than that, happy 2023. Wishing you and your family all the very best for what 2023 has to offer. And yeah, hope to see you all soon. Take care.